back for another one. This is a special year. This is what we call a tipping point year because we have struggled now for, you won't believe this, for a period of time that even goes back before Google, even goes back before YouTube, back in the mid-1980s when my good friend Brenda by Harry told me about his discovery of using low-dose naltrexone for humans and the clinical effects he was seeing. If you look at the struggle to get LDN recognized, it's important to understand why it's taken all this time. It's not a reason to doubt its efficacy at all. It happens that the system for developing new drugs here in the United States rests very much on the appreciation of big pharmaceutical companies as to whether something is going to be profitable for them. So when they're faced with something that may or may not have patent coverage, whose large dose, the 50 milligrams, though approved by the FDA, is already off patent, is being made generically, there's an awful lack of interest on the part of the pharmaceuticals. That in turn feeds right into the system of approval for new drugs. If the FDA is not approached by a pharmaceutical company wanting to run important clinical trials, that stops the system. That's the bottleneck. Nobody ever thought about the possibility, what if a drug comes along that would challenge the existing expensive drugs that are already on the market? What pharmaceutical company would want to threaten its own line? So that may be a possible reason why there's not that much interest on the part of pharmaceutical companies. They seem to run the other way when they hear about this. What could the solution be? The solution would be if the grassroots rose up enough to impress their own doctors in academia to take an interest. Now today, I'm going to review with you what's popped up only in this past year, 2007, the tipping point year. Exactly 6 months ago today, we had a very interesting invitation from the National Cancer Institute. And some of the people who are here today attended that meeting. It was for researchers and clinicians who were interested. And the title of it was Low-Dose Opioid Blockers, Endorphins, and Metenkephalins, Promising Compounds for Unmet Medical Needs. As a matter of number one, we got off with a great start when Dr. Jill Smith's original article called Low-Dose Naltrexone Therapy Improves Active Crohn's Disease appeared as an e-publication in January for the American Journal of Gastroenterology, and since then it's come out in the print edition in April. This was the very first clinical study of LDN published by a U.S. medical journal. Dr. Smith is a professor of gastroenterology at Penn State University College of Medicine. She found in her original pilot study that 2/3 of the patients went into remission and fully 89% of the group responded to LDN treatment to some degree or other. And she concluded in her paper, quote, LDN therapy appears effective and safe in subjects with active Crohn's disease. So that open label Penn State trial demonstrated efficacy of LDN in a small group of patients, and as a result, the National Institutes of Health gave resounding backing to a nice grant for her to move on to a phase 2 trial. Number 2, last month, after years of preparatory efforts by many, many advocates, the Institutional Review Board in Bamako, we've all heard of Bamako, right? The capital of Mali in northwest Africa, the second poorest country on earth, finally approved plans for a clinical trial to use LDN in possible treatment of HIV. There are probably 20 million people in Africa alone who could benefit if this clinical trial comes back positive. It was Dr. McCandless who picked up the torch for this trial after it had been lagging for several years. It wasn't getting anywhere with the bureaucracy over there, and it met her interests perfectly well.